Roman Reigns and John Cena are probably the greatest characters to come out of WWE in the last 25 years. Not in my opinion, but just objectively speaking from an importance and story perspective, as well as from a strength perspective. The only person to measure to them in terms of power would be somebody like Brock Lesnar in like the mid-2010s. However, that is a topic for another day. In this video, I will analyze, hypothesize, and conclude who'd win between prime John Cena and prime Roman Reigns. This isn't me talking about who is better, more interesting, or even more over with the crowd. This is closer to a Goku vs Superman video, where I'm putting two characters against each other to see who would win. In order to have this matchup, we need first to establish what is the prime for each of these competitors in the first place, and why are we even considering their primes? Well, as in the nature of wrestling, everything is fluid, by which I mean it's just like in the comics. The power levels are ever-changing and inconsistent. So if we were to take those two and be non-specific, we would have to like average about 10 to respectively 20 years of their careers, which would be extremely hard due to, again, the inconsistency in booking over such a long period of time. Thus, I opted to just take them at whatever peak there was in their career. The second dilemma is asking what is their respective peaks. For John Cena, I would say it resides between the 2008 Royal Rumble, where he returned unexpectedly 3 months before it could have ever been humanly possible, solidifying him as being supernaturally resilient and strong, to somewhere in 2011 when CM Punk started being portrayed as pretty close to him in a 1v1 situation, and where The Rock outscales him in terms of popularity, star power, and even in the ring. And by 2014 to 2015, the Super Cena project has already been left in the dust when Bryan Danielson, or Daniel Bryan, defeated him at SummerSlam, and at the next SummerSlam, Brock Lesnar absolutely destroys Cena. Within the 2008 to 2011 period, Cena underwent superhuman punishment and accomplished insane feats like fighting the whole locker room with Randy Orton on his side, lifting Edge and the Big Show at the same time, or just burying the Nexus in story and real life, or survive getting his neck broken multiple times, sometimes just coming back the next day. With Roman, it's a little bit harder. It definitely wasn't when he was part of the Shield, talking about his prime, because he was not good enough to defeat people like CM Punk or John Cena without help from the Shield, and even lost to Punk when he defeated the whole Shield in a 1v3 at TLC, though he did make Roman look really strong. So the question is between the big dog version of Roman Reigns and the tribal chief version of Roman Reigns. Tribal chief is portrayed as being stronger, or at least is talked about by commentary and the company like he is the final boss. Well, actually no, that's The Rock, but you get it. Roman is treated like he's the strongest guy ever. Even in the video games, they give him a 99 overall in 2K23 and a 97 in 2K24, whereas the highest he's been before as the big dog was a 95. However, I think the presentation and actions don't actually match. Cody who is apparently only a 93 in the games, almost beat Roman twice and only lost due to interference from other bloodline members. Similarly, Roman only beat people like Drew McIntyre, Brock Lesnar, even Kevin Owens or Jey Uso because of his family interfering. The Big Dog, on the other hand, was fighting Brock Lesnar, John Cena, Braun Strowman, and many others, multiple at the same time sometimes, without any help. As well as fighting the whole authority, which was basically the company itself. To make it a little bit more comprehensive, I will use the 2K system to show how versions of Roman Reigns compare. In 2012 to 13, I would say Roman is an 88 overall, as he is not quite a main eventer, but is pretty high up in the mid-card. Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose, who are his colleagues, I would say they're an 87, as Roman is portrayed to be stronger than them and being the powerhouse and decision maker of the group. Whereas people like CM Punk would be a 93 because he's able to defeat each member of the Shield in individual one-to-one matches and is able to fight people like Lesnar, who I would say is like a 94 as he defeated Punk, Cena, who is a 95 because he was able to defeat Lesnar and Punk by this point, or The Rock, who is also about a 95, being able to fight John Cena, but this year he actually lost, as opposed to the year previously where he won. In 2016 to 2018, the Big Dog, Roman Reigns, was about a 96, being able to defeat just about anybody. If anything, he was defeating multiple people at once, as I said earlier, without help. He was fighting the whole company without help. Above him, it would be someone like Brock Lesnar at a 97, who is strong enough to just bully Roman Reigns with no problem and has defeated everybody else on the roster without much problems or difficulty, being champion for like 500 days with little to no challenge. And I would say John Cena, for example, would be a 93 to 94, as in this time period he really started to decline from a in-story perspective, being destroyed by Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam 2015 or beaten by Roman Reigns at No Mercy 2017 or 2018, I think. I don't remember specifically the year. And I would say that Braun Strowman, a powerhouse at the time, was about a 92, as he wasn't portrayed quite as strong as Roman or Brock. He might have been physically stronger, but at the end of the day, he would still lose matches to these guys. And in the 2020s, I would say that Roman is a 95, and Cody is also a 95. Both able to fight each other, with Roman only being able to defeat Cody with help. And given that Cody is also able to defeat Brock Lesnar, I would say that Brock Lesnar is also at about a 95, as Roman needs help to beat Cody or Brock, but Cody, for example, can beat both of them. Meaning that I would give the slight edge to Cody at this time, with Roman and Brock being like a quarter of a point lower than him. Alongside them, I would have people like CM Punk at the 94, Drew McIntyre at the 93, and Seth Rollins at the 93. Just given the fact that all these people can fight somewhat on equal terms with each other. However, it is perfectly clear to me that Roman and Cody are supposed to be the top main guys who are the strongest in the company, with Brock Lesnar being on their level and everyone else being slightly above. And while it looks more competitive in the 2020s, keep in mind, Roman actually needs help to beat most of these people. Whereas Big Dog Roman finds people like peak Brock Lesnar without any help. Okay, so now that we established that it's going to be Big Dog Roman versus John Cena in his prime, Super Cena if you will, who wins? To establish how powerful those characters are, we have to look at the monsters they have to conquer. For John Cena, it was the Big Show, who can essentially flip a truck all by himself. Whereas Roman fights Braun Strowman, who's able to flip an ambulance with a Roman in it, but also a limousine, a truck, and other cars. And when I say truck, I don't mean a small truck like the one Big Show did, but an actual Optimus Prime looking ass truck. To put it in perspective, strongman competitions that basically have the strongest people in the world competing to find who is the strongest person on the planet empty the cars before attempting to push them or flip them over. But the Big Show can just do it to a normal truck. So obviously WWE superstars have superhuman strength, but Braun did it to way bigger cars, making it even more impressive. Roman even managed to put him in the back of an ambulance and drove it straight into a truck. This would have killed any other person, but Braun literally gets up and walks off. And Roman not only fights and beats this guy, but he fights Lesnar, who beat Braun himself on multiple occasions. Though, to be fair to the Big Show, to not undermine his resilience, in the 90s when he was fighting with Hulk Hogan in the Legion of Doom, he literally fell off a rooftop 10 stories high and he was unharmed. So don't underestimate him. Floyd Mayweather needed brass knuckles and help from his team to even try to defeat the Big Show. Now, Cena in his prime was a beast. Yeah, was a beast. Why did I say it like that? Now, Cena in his prime was a beast too. Don't get it twisted. He single-handedly beat Nexus when the Nexus literally beat up the rest of the locker room, and he essentially won anything there was to win, beat anybody there was to beat. He wasn't invincible, but he was always coming on top. I think the difference between the two is just who they had to fight. Cena was going toe-to-toe with Randy Orton, Batista, Triple H, Edge, CM Punk. But Roman was fighting peak Brock Lesnar, who just ended The Undertaker's WrestleMania streak and completely low difficulty squashed John Cena himself, who, while wasn't at his peak, was still a full-timer at the top of the card. Returning to the streak, Taker managed to defeat Edge, Batista, Triple H, Kane, Shawn Michaels, Randy Orton, and CM Punk in their prime, at the peak of each of these guys' power. 20 years of defeating some of the strongest in WWE, many of them who rivaled John Cena himself, and Lesnar still beat The Undertaker when none of these other guys could. And Roman, as the big dog, or even as the final chief, was fighting this Lesnar on equal terms for most of the decade. So yeah, sorry, as crazy as it sounds, Roman at his peak seems to be stronger than Super Cena. But I think I would still put them very close at, I don't know, a 96 overall in game terminology, with higher people being someone like Undertaker at WrestleMania in his prime, or Big Brock Lesnar, who would probably be able to defeat them. So even though John Cena is returning to Raw and returning to WWE for his farewell tour, I cannot give him a feel-good moment because Roman Reigns wins this fight.
Diabolical, the most dangerous, a beast slayer, a conqueror's conqueror, the goat of all goats, so that they say at the end of the match, the ultimate needle mover, the head of the table, the tribal chief, in God mode himself,
has got to
Baltimore.
be so devoid of any creative thought. May God have mercy on your soul. You've ruined wrestling.